Welcome back. Hayley accuses Blake of gross ingratitude concerning the loan of his cottage. The angry spirit of Rintrah is embodied in him, but hidden behind mildness. He creates a list of 7 deadly sins according to his own moral perceptions, but it is really only serving to divide the group of poets from one another. On the higher level, all hell is breaking loose as Satan declares himself God and creates Ulro in his bosom. Ulro is the land of the walking dead, a realm of mental darkness. It is the land of idols, delusions, and abstractions mistaken as primary realities. It is our world. Then rose the two witnesses, Rintrah and Palamabron. And Palamabron appealed to all Eden, and received judgment. And lo, it fell on Rintrah and his rage, which now flamed high and furious in Satan against Palamabron, till it became a proverb in Eden. Satan is among the reprobate. Los in his wrath cursed heaven and earth. He rent up nations, standing on Albion's rocks among high-reared Druid temples which reach the stars of heaven and stretch from pole to pole. He displaced continents, the oceans fled before his face. He altered the poles of the world, east, west, and north and south. But he closed up Enetharmon from the sight of all these things. For Satan, flaming with Rintrah's fury, hidden beneath his own mildness, accused Palamabron before the assembly of ingratitude, of malice. He created 7 deadly sins, drawing out his infernal scroll of moral laws and cruel punishments upon the clouds of Jehovah, to pervert the divine voice in its entrance to the earth, with thunder of war and trumpet sound, with armies of disease, punishments and deaths mustered and numbered, saying, I am God alone, there is no other. Let all obey my principles of moral individuality. I have brought them from the uppermost, innermost recesses of my eternal mind. Transgressors I will rend off forever, as now I rend this accursed family from my covering. Thus Satan raged amidst the assembly, and his bosom grew opaque against the divine vision. The paved terraces of his bosom inward shone with fires, but the stones becoming opaque hid him from sight in an extreme blackness and darkness. And there a world of deeper Ulro was opened in the midst of the assembly, in Satan's bosom, a vast unfathomable abyss. Astonishment held the assembly in an awful silence, and tears fell down as dews of night, and a loud solemn universal groan was uttered from the east and from the west and from the south and from the north, and Satan stood opaque, immeasurable, covering the east with solid blackness round his hidden heart, with thunders uttered from his hidden wheels, accusing loud the divine mercy for protecting Palamabron in his tent. Rintrah reared up walls of rocks and poured rivers and moats of fire round the walls. Columns of fire guard around between Satan and Palamabron in their terrible darkness. And Satan, not having the science of wrath, but only of pity, rent them asunder, and wrath was left to wrath, and pity to pity. He sunk down a dreadful death, unlike the slumbers of Beulah. The separation was terrible. The dead was reposed on his couch, beneath the couch of Albion, on the 7 mountains of Rome, in the whole place of the covering cherub, Rome, Babylon, and Tyre. His spectre, raging furious, descended into its space. He set his face against Jerusalem to destroy the Aeon of Albion. But Los hid Enetharmon from the sight of all these things, upon the Thames whose lulling harmony reposed her soul, where Beulah Lovely terminates in rocky Albion, terminating in Hyde Park on Tyburn awful brook, and the mills of Satan were separated into a moony space among the rocks of Albion's temples, and Satan's druid sons offered the human victims throughout all the earth, and Albion's dread tomb, immortal on his rock, overshadowed the whole earth, where Satan, making to himself laws from his own identity, compelled others to serve him in moral gratitude and submission, being called God, setting himself above all that is called God, and all the spectres of the dead, calling themselves sons of God, in his synagogues worship Satan under the unutterable name. And it was inquired, why in a great solemn assembly the innocent should be condemned for the guilty. Then an eternal rose, saying, if the guilty should be condemned, he must be an eternal death, and one must die for another throughout all eternity. Satan is fallen from his station and never can be redeemed, but must be new created continually, moment by moment. In the Garden of Eden, the fall produced a change because of the eating of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God acknowledged that it was a game changer. Things would never be the same again. In Blake's version, Satan has produced a game changer. But now he has created Ulro. Human beings are going to live in Ulro, in this land of the spiritually dead, we might say. And people are going to be judged according to the way he sees things. So there's a turnaround now, and good and bad, in a sense, will be reversed. Many, many people will be judged to be good, when in actual fact they're not. It was a delight to see in the Divine Comedy how Dante spoke against that and placed many, many highly placed religious people in the inferno rather than in paradise. People like Rintrah, angry people who want to change the world because they think it's wrong, sometimes justifiably, sometimes not. They are called the reprobates. And then the last group, the redeemed, are those who believe that the elect know what they're saying and follow them to the best of their ability and hope to find themselves saved through obedience to that vision. So that's where we are now, and I'll stop and thank you again for listening and see you next time. Bye for now.